What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got an IS300 that we're going to be wiring up with a Fueltech. Car came in. It's a GTE swap IS300. Originally had a AEM Infinity with a jumper harness. The harness pretty much was a mess. It was cut a couple times. Had a couple things burn inside the harness. Had a couple bad connections. So it was pretty much a mess. I was trying to resolve it and had a couple issues where injectors were staying on. It had a couple shorts. So I was trying to repair that. It was a lot. It was a lot of mess. So I talked the owner into getting a Fueltech Standalone, just getting rid of the jumper stuff and going straight to Standalone. This car is a manual transmission, BMW manual. I'm not sure which one he has in there. But yeah, so we're gonna be wiring up this with a Fueltech, and getting rid of a lot of the wires here. I'm gonna clean that up a lot, clean up the fuse box, pretty much make it really nice. Wire it up the best I can. So we got the old, that's the GTE harness. I was trying to do some repairs to that. It has a bunch of cut. It's a mess. So we got the Fueltech here. We got the F550, brand new bad boy, same one that's in my car. Got the little fixing, the cable, flash drive with the software, the bracket, instructions. We got the harness here, A and B harness, just the regular harness. So I'm gonna be wiring that up with all the sensors and everything. What else? The owner had this dash, which he had the AEM screen mounted into. So I'm gonna try to retrofit this so we could run this and the Nano into that. He should be bringing me the Nano with the wideband, so we could have this in the Nanos, just like my car. So pretty much, before we get started with anything wire harness related, the first thing you're going to want to do is download the software and create a file. When you create the file, it's going to give you pretty much a guideline as to how to wire it up, because it's going to give you the wire harness and where everything goes. What I did here, I pretty much made a list of everything that I think I'm going to need. So that gives me a good starting point. Obviously going to need injectors, coil, cam signal, crank signal, intake air temp, coolant temp, oil pressure, TPS, fuel level, wheel speed, fuel pump, fans, VVTi solenoid, boost solenoid. So that's pretty much inputs that we're gonna send to the Fueltech, and also stuff that we want the Fueltech to control. That's gonna give me a really good starting point as far as getting the new map created, and then that's gonna generate a wiring diagram for us. So let's go ahead and jump into that and get the map started. Alright, so once you have the software downloaded on your laptop, computer, whatever it is, and you open it up, it's going to come to this screen. What you want to do is select new map, and that's going to open up this screen. And basically, you just go ahead and start from the top, come down, select your ECU model. We have a FT550. Vehicle mode is a combustion engine, not electric or a hybrid, so we leave that. I'm going to be running a closed loop fuel table. Drag features, just select what you want. Two-step, yeah, we're going to be using a two-step. Nothing else really right now. You could always add stuff after, and it will integrate it into the file, into the tune. So internal data logger, D-cell cutoff. Yeah, we want that. That's for flames. Rev limiter, yeah. Shift light, yeah. Thermal fan, yeah. Air conditioning, yeah. Fuel pump, yeah. So you just go through the list, select everything you want. Generic duty cycle control, yep, that's gonna control the MAC valve for our boost. Start button, no, we're gonna be starting with the key. RPM activated output, yes. Map selection button, no. Activate traction control, flex fuel, not right now. VVTi, yes. Manual transmission, so we don't need anything there. So yeah, you just go through, select everything that you're going to be using. Ignition, fuel compensation. This is going to help to get us the fuel level. And once you select everything that you think you're going to need here, again, this is you could always go back and add stuff. So if you forget something, it's not a big deal. So we go next, and then it pulls up this table here. Engine type is a piston engine. It's not a rotary. RX-7 people. Then we're going to go to number of cylinders. This is a JZ, so we got 6-cylinder. Main fuel table, you could either do TPS or map. We're going to do it by map. Max boost, so leave it at 29 for now. Probably not going to see that on this car. Max RPM, I'm going to leave it at 8,000. Enrichment, fuel enrichment by TPS or by map, we're going to leave that at TPS. And we're going to select our firing order. This is a JZ, so firing order is going to be 153624. So leave that in place, and then we select next. So it comes to RPM signal. This is asking about basically the cam and the crank signal. All right, so for right here, I pretty much inputted everything I had for my car. We'll have to make some changes once I try to start the car, or once I have the car started and I'm verifying timing. I have to make some changes, to everything specific for this car. But as a starting point for right now, so RPM type, it's a VR differential. I have it on rising. Again, all of this I might change depending on how cam sync is and how it's looking when I'm trying to start. But for now, this is a good starting point. Cam sensor type, VR. We have crank trigger wheel, VVTi, so it's 36 minus 2 at the crank. Crank index position 154. This is on same thing as my car. Again, all of this might change depending on how it looks when we're trying to start the car, and also once we're verified timing with the engine versus what we're seeing on the Fueltech. So for now, this is just some numbers starting point to go with. Next is going to be ignition. Ignition mode, we're going to use sequential individual coils is what we're running. Not a Honda MSD, just regular smart coils. We don't have any FT Spark, nothing like that, so just that right there. Alright, so on this page we're selecting injectors. So we're running sequential injectors. We're running 6. Primary bank total flow rate. So this is the total flow rate of all the injectors. On this car we have 1,000 cc injectors. On this car we have 1,000 cc injectors, but this is in pounds. So 1,000 cc injectors is like 95 pound injectors. But it doesn't want the individual flow rate. It wants the total flow rate. So it's 95 times the amount of cylinder. In this case, it's 6-cylinder. So it's 95 times 6, which is 570. So that's the total flow rate across all cylinders of the injectors at max capacity. The dead time for these injectors, I'm not sure what they are. I'm going to have to look that up and input that later on. That's going to help with tuning the car accurately once we get to that stage. For now, I'm going to leave it at 1.0, but I'm going to have to look that up and change that once I get to that point. But for now, this is good to go with. This brings us to throttle position. So we're using a TPS type sensor, idle actuator. I'm going to leave that off for now. We're not using any idle actuator, TPS. So that's pretty simple right there. Gonna hit next. It's asking you about compression ratio. This is a stock GTE bottom end, low compression. Fuel we're running is gas. We're gonna be running E85 on this car, but You select gas, it's gonna give you the stoic ratio in gas, even when you're running E85. So that's gonna still leave the stoic at gas ratio, so it's easier to read, easier to tune. So it doesn't matter if you select gas and you're running E85, it's still gonna give you the 14.7 to 1 or 14.5 to 1, whatever the stoic ratio is at this point. So we're selecting gas, low compression, initial boost, no secondary initial, low profile. So right here is at the end. Yes, sir. Got little man over here. What? Show me the turbo. Where's the turbo? Good job. Good job. All right. So right here, we're pretty much at the end, and we're gonna go ahead and hit generate, and that's gonna go ahead and generate our base file for us. Yes, sir. Yeah, we got the pipe and the turbo. So it's asking, do you want to view the wiring harness? So it already made a wiring harness for us. Let's go ahead and view the wiring harness. All right, so you hit generate, and this is what you're gonna see. Wire harness comes up. It's showing you the, says it there, connector A, connector B. Which are these? So it's showing you the A and B connectors, and it has all the wires color coded just as it is in the loom, and it's showing you, so if you could see, injector 1 for the blue, blue 2, injector 2. So it already generated the wiring diagram for you. So this is what you're gonna go with. As you can see in this harness, let's see if I can show you guys. Where am I? So it's numbered. So it has 1 here, 3 here, 5. So it's numbered. So blue 1. This is for injector 1. Blue 2 for injector 2, so on and so on and so on till you get to the 6. If you got a 4-cylinder, it would use the 4, and you know the other 2 might be extra, or they might leave them for something else, but it will tell you. So you can see here, it goes all the way from 1 to 6. So all the blue that we're using is for injectors. So these I have to wire up to the injector. This is ground side. So the ECU is going to send ground to the injector. The other side, I'm going to wire up to ignition power to a relay. So once I turn the ignition on, the injectors are going to get power from a relay. And then the ECU is going to send ground once I start to crank and once the engine is running. It also did the same thing for the ignition coils. If you could see here, it has gray, and that's ignition 1. It has this one, which is pin 9. That's ignition 2, so on and so on, all the way to 6. So this is what, when you input the information, this is what it did. It created a wiring harness for you. This can be modified depending on what you put in. So let's go here to the side. I'm gonna show you guys something real quick. So inputs is what you're telling the ECU. So you're gonna be telling it, see here, it already came up with TPS, oil pressure, engine temp, fuel pressure, air temp. So all of that stuff. Now if you want to add something, like you made your list. Oh, I want to also show you guys cam and crank. That already comes in the harness. That already come shielded. So your cam and your crank, you're going to be able to find that already shielded. You just got to run that to where it is associated. So that's perfect. But yeah, you could always add stuff here. So if I click on here and that's none, let's just say I wanted to add a wheel. So I wanted to add a wheel speed sensor, ABS for the mile per hour. You could always add that, and then that's gonna, once you add it here, you save it. That's gonna transfer over to the wiring diagram, and it's gonna show you where you want to put that. So pretty simple there. And then you could also do the same for outputs. So outputs are things that the ECU are going to control. Inputs are information you're sending to the ECU. Okay, so for the outputs, you can see the blue ones from 1 to 6 we're using for the injector. And then we have 7, 8 that we're using for the VVTi solenoid and for the MAC valve for the boost. The other 4 for right now we're not going to use, so those are just going to be there for spare. Blue outputs send ground signal. Gray outputs also send ground signal. The yellow outputs you could choose between gray or 12-volt signal. So for the yellow output I'm using for the fan. That's going to trigger the fan relay with a 12-volt signal. And then for like the VVTi, that's going to be on a 12-volt ignition source, and then the ECU is going to control that with a ground output to control that motor. So that's it for the outputs. And again, everything you do here, come up here, you hit the confirm button right there, and then all of that is going to populate on the wiring diagram screen. So that's going to show you everything you need to do. See here, I had yellow 1 for the fan, so that's going to show me this wire. That's the one I need for the fan. For the VVTi solenoid, right there it shows me a generic duty cycle. That's for the boost. So everything you do in the inputs and outputs populates here, and then this is your guide for wiring up the car. So that's pretty simple. I'm gonna go ahead and close this video. For this part, this is going to be part 1, because this video is already pretty long. So this is going to be part 1. That's just the computer part, getting everything set up so you could get the wiring diagram so you could start. Step 2, part 2, we're going to start doing the actual wiring and get cracking on that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share the content if you like it, and I'll see you on the next one.